Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. Today we're catching up on some recent conversations in the comment section of my previous videos where the likes of Justin Roy has had a few things to say. I'll be responding back there, see if people have misbehaved or not, check for relevant, important conversations and discussions about the case, of course, answer any questions if necessary, and add on my raw reactions and thoughts as to where things are currently at, and acknowledge what other people think. Because arguably, in recent time, there's been a chain of videos where we've taken a look at Alicia Lee, Caden Pressey, more so in a negative light, but they've appeared to have done that to themselves, and the contradictions and the mishaps with time and the slip of the tongues possibly. It's not been good whatsoever, but it has been breaking news, and some of the material has never been seen before up until just recently. It is unfortunate it's taken this long because they are old conversations. If they were brought up and shown in the early days, who knows where things could have been at. Maybe there would have been a better understanding, more control early on before it spiraled out of control. Because if you look at it this way, with possible lies or supposed stories and details expressed in 2023, how it differs to 2024 onwards is drastic, and it makes you question which one is true, which one's false, or could they both be false? Where is the true truth exactly? And that if in 2023 it was false or somewhat not quite accurate, if it was looked at early on, then maybe it wouldn't have given some people an opportunity to make adjustments onwards to strengthen certain lies and then go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. Unfortunately, this is just where we're at because I showed up the time I did. It is what it is. But of course, other people have been around longer and you see how things have gone. But welcome to everyone or anyone watching the live premiere tonight. Share your thoughts, live reactions in the chat box on the right hand side of the screen. And after watching this video, if you have any additional thoughts, any questions, be sure to drop them down below under the video and I can respond back later. You'll find a pinned message below in the comments by me with an additional link, PayPal, if you want to support the channel. If you want to catch up on recent coverage, missed out on any videos to do with the case, don't worry, you'll be able to find it all top right where the I symbol is there. Besides that, the order of how we'll do things today, I'm jumping into the comment section from 2 to 3 days ago, acknowledge what's there, then the latest video of mine, what I did, which was last night, and acknowledge the comments there too. And then once that's done, either I reach a conclusion or we can add on to future stuff. Granted, when looking at comments, it can raise important points or questions that may need answering, and it may trigger, I don't know, more ideas and conversations onwards to help keep the case alive in its own right. And who knows where it can lead to. There are still some projects or little points that can be done or covered at some point, which are like on the notepad. But recently there have been that breaking news material which needed to be covered first and foremost. So with that being said, let's begin. Here we are, start from the bottom, work our way up. We've got plus again, justice for Noah Presgrove. And to kick things off, Justin Roy, 1 day ago, timestamp in my video, part of a discussion. The butt of a gun there, WarLike Wrath. Several rumours came from Saturday night that could have possibly led to what happened to Noah the next party day. What, as in a firearm, the butt of it used on Noah, which possibly caused the head injury. The scalp was ripped off and it had like a fish shape pattern, and the butt of a gun can resemble something similar to that. And then things transitioned on to a particular golf club with the same shape. So from a gun to a golf club to what? Is there a level of certainty? Still worth highlighting, of course, along the way within the case at a point in time. Does it still stand strong now to people, before or after the autopsy in present day? To say that there's several rumours from Saturday night. Who created those rumours and why did they? From Saturday night, as in the rumours from partygoers Rumours from people that were actually there Saturday night, or just rumours online by random members of the general public who may or may not be a little erratic at times and jump the gun, who are speaking on behalf of others to do with Saturday night, the party? I wonder. Why is it so significant Saturday when most of the stuff started kicking off Sunday evening going into Monday morning? It's because Saturday is one of the days of the dove hunt, supposedly the final day of the dove hunt, because it was from Friday to Saturday. And the questions of, was there any party goers that attended the dove hunt and then came on down to the party house with firearms? But the question, I would say, and maybe it's already been answered, that at times when it comes to hunts, private or not maybe, but they do provide their own or have their own firearms, that you don't just take your own down to the place, unless there's some exceptions, or it may differ from place to place or company. But, you know, they supply the firearms on site, and then you come on down to use them, and then when you leave, you do not leave with them, you leave them behind because they're not yours. How many people from the party attended the dove hunt a day before or so? And on top of that, were any firearms taken from one place to another, if possible? And then, if you had your true answers, definitive ones, then you could suggest it and apply to the outcome with Noah. But I know some may have their responses. If you're going to use a firearm on someone, isn't it better just to shoot them instead of club them to death? Oh, well, if you shoot them, then it comes across as, you know, more obvious that it's murder than if someone was repeatedly whacked and bashed to death. To be honest, you could put the argument across, Justin, and say that if someone was to be shot, and if somehow it could possibly be staged, like some kind of accidental gun discharge, self-inflicted, if that was even possible to recreate or stage, that could appear just a little bit more innocent compared to somebody else actually whacking Noah and doing it more than once. Because as I said, when it came to this case, how I was analysing it in the past is, if you do have a beatdown, an attack and an ambush, one hit can be enough, but any more after that, it's less of an accident. It seems like it's more done with intent. Just like if you used to shoot someone multiple times, one accidental gun discharge can happen, a gun malfunctioning can happen, but then after that point, another shot, cocking it back, pulling the bolt, whatever type of firearm it is, pulling that trigger one more time, and then again and again. Seems like it was more done with intent. You accidentally shoot someone once, you're not going to accidentally or purposely do it again. If you do it again and you're consciously aware, it's as if you want to do it, and it's no longer an accident, is it? So that's my take on the gun situation, right? Justin says, if LE wanted to interview them, they would have. It's been 20 months now. Right. Who's them? Are you referring to your nephews? The evidence is Cade and Pressy had to contact them both times. Flip it however you want to. Justin, we're going to, I'm going to respond back to that right now, Justin, because your wording is absolutely pathetic. You like to use the word flip and twist and vindictive and use all your little fancy buzzwords. There's no flipping it here, Justin. Reality is, and it is documented, hard evidence, documented on my channel, that the way you worded it, Justin, in recent time, you associated Cade and Pressy's name in the same exact sentence as your nephews, in which you claim your nephews have never been interviewed whatsoever. And you were grouping Cade and Pressy's name into that same exact sentence, that Caden was never interviewed. Likely, that was a mistake by you and you did not mean it in that way. But how I interpret it, I might have an idea of what you're getting at, but I'm going to be a bit strict and realistic because I know other people that don't know how you work are probably going to misunderstand it. So the record needs to be set straight. Then the next time round you was referring to Caden Pressey, you changed it a little bit. You weren't grouping Caden with your nephews anymore, as in never interviewed, but more so the police themselves never wanted to interview Caden. It would have been easy, Justin, for you to say, my nephews have never been interviewed by police. It's as if the police want nothing to do with them. So maybe they are innocent based off that reaction or lack of reaction. And as for Caden Pressey, sure, he has been interviewed, but he had to chase them down. But the police couldn't be bothered, possibly incompetent, maybe busy, maybe somehow corrupt, allegedly. But besides that, the police weren't that interested in Caden, so that might imply Caden innocent in that sense. Justin, explain yourself clearer. You wonder why you get stuck in mess. You wonder why you come across resistance and possibly get attacked at times by others that react sharper and harsher compared to me. It's because of your piss poor wording. You need to do better, Justin. As for me flipping it or twisting it, you're doing that to yourself. And as we know, Justin, you can sound like a broken record, but it just so happens that I'm very good at repetition. So I will repeat myself 500 times if needed, Justin. If that's what it takes to get into your head, into your skull, your brain, wherever, whatever, it'll need to be done, won't it? Let's move on. Justin says, yes, but... Oh, that's a weak start to a response. Caden Pressey had to go to LE. They didn't want to interview him, just like they don't want to interview my nephews. Have the police actually said, we don't want to interview you? Is there any hard evidence of that, Justin? Is there any possibilities of other factors out there as to why police haven't interviewed certain people? Additional factors. I know some people will roll their eyes. Is it because the police are busy? Is it because they're tired, lazy? Is it because they're incompetent? Is it because they're dealing with others, they're interviewing others, and they haven't got round to the rest? Got to take in mind other factors. Justin Roy fails to do that quite often. Yes, Caden Pressey reaching out, Caden Pressey willing, that's all good. But whilst we keep going round and round in circles, Justin, as for one's nephews, have they done what Caden has done? As in reaching out or just sitting back? No clear answers there from Justin. Interesting. Justin says, you clearly can't read context of messages. I'll make it clearer for you next time. Well, to be honest, Justin, you don't have to make it clearer just for me. Make it clearer for everyone. Make it clearer to benefit yourself in the future, Justin. You keep whinging and whining and yapping and moaning about resistance, but part of it is by your own doing or incompetence with language and wording online. If we're talking about serious matters, there needs to be a level of effort in getting that message, conveying the message across. Of course, digitally speaking and online, through words and text, only so much emotion can be expressed, and that could still be misunderstood at times, granted, different to face-to-face, but it's still possible to make it clear. However, Justin, you have failed to do that. In terms of me clearly misunderstanding your messages, that's incorrect, invalid. I have understood your messages along the way. I've acknowledged it just moments beforehand when saying how you probably didn't mean it that way exactly, you meant it in another way. However, as me being almost like putting myself in the shoes of a new viewer reading it for the first time, or someone that doesn't know how Justin works, they're going to misunderstand it. We need raw, natural, live reactions to make it clear. Justin, You've clearly failed to understand that. And Justin, I don't think you're quite in a position to be talking about context of messages when some of your screenshots or screenshots passed on to you, which you nodded your head and thought that's good enough, even though there wasn't enough context behind it, and you rolled with it. You went along with it. It's just a little bit hypocritical, Justin. And when I come across hypocrites and consistent ones, it becomes a bit of a problem. Moving on. Justin says, bottom line, and my point, both Caden and my nephews are not people of interest, as it's been 20 months and LE did not want to interview them. But do we have evidence that LE truly and personally, on a personal level, didn't want to interview these specific people? And what was the reaction and the cooperation when it came to LE interviewing the other partygoers, in which LE actually reached out to partygoers and not the other way around? See, I can understand that in Caden Pressy's situation, he had to be a catalyst. He shouldn't have to have been, possibly, but he had to take that on to help himself, of course, try and clear his name, but more in his mind was to help and assist because he cared about Noah so much, supposedly. But what about Justin's nephews? Has Justin's nephews done what Caden had? Reached out to police? Even if police haven't interviewed you, you think that's good enough? Maybe it's different for people's minds and what's on their conscience, right? Like, let's just say, in a position that if I was a party goer and that police did not interview me, would I feel at rest, at ease, like I can just move on? Not at all. In my mind, it would be, well, police aren't interviewing me. They've not reached out. It's like they don't care. Maybe because they know that I'm innocent. But do they truly know? Or are they just passing time whilst doing other stuff that maybe months on, years later, they could follow up on me and then I've got to do an interview? Well, if that's the case, I would rather get it out the way, clear it out of my head, so then I can just focus on doing other stuff or enjoy other stuff. Get all the shit out the way as soon as possible to help in the situation, but also to clear and ease one's mind. But in terms of Justin's point of view, Justin is basically speaking on behalf of his nephews at this point, right? Who knows what the nephews think or feel, whether they're happy that they've not been interviewed, but they could be at a random point in time and it's looming over, but oh well, let's just put our heads into the sand or into the clouds and just treat it as, well, we're innocent, police don't want us, that's it. The case is still ongoing though. Surely you would want to get it out the way as soon as possible. What about the so-called Texas boys, 5 of them, in which Robin Smith online said police told her that the Texas boys have been cleared officially from the case? Well, why? Why have they been cleared? Oh, because they're innocent. Oh, but have they officially been declared innocent? Well, from what Robin supposedly says, yes. And to be honest, being officially cleared and deemed as innocent sounds better than being unofficially cleared, right? Surely you can understand that, Justin. The process to it all. Yeah, 20 months have gone by and Caden, nephews are not classified as a person of interest. But is anyone classified as a person of interest, though? Is Jack Newton, Carter Combs, Avery Combs, are they treated officially as people of interest? Because I'm sure it's been mentioned that no one's officially been classified as a person of interest. I don't know if Justin has said that himself, but I definitely know some people have. Now, if other people out there, partygoers, haven't been treated officially as a person of interest, but they have been interviewed by police and the police reached out to them first and they've not been cleared, but they're not deemed as a person of interest, what does that say about Caden and the nephews then? Now, Justin then says, poor Brooke Bounds Carter. Nobody has stalked you or put a bomb on your truck like you told George. You're just a drama queen. Wonder why WarLike Wrath don't share your messages with Becca, with you claiming you could make me disappear too. So, first time me reading these comments, of course, because I've not been looking back at my videos since. Some responses as well. Let's just acknowledge it first of all. The reference of a bomb in a truck and threats and being stalked. Well, at least from what we saw in the screenshots, it was by, if we're referring to the previous screenshots of a previous video, it was by a particular unknown individual that, besides the username, shared very similar characteristics and traits with language and wording to the odd person online who we've come across ourselves. It seems to link, possibly. And it wasn't BBC just making it all up. There was screenshots of BBC with someone reaching out to her. Justin has reacted to that since, I believe, but we're just going through the comments in the correct order. That's pretty much it. What the response is, Amy, you can't see what the guy is saying back. She blocked this guy. Really? Right. Siobhan, you see the messages. Why not just acknowledge it happened and she was threatened? I thought you were stepping away. Huh. Lelia. Or Lelia. He can't step away. He doesn't know how. He can't realise that you have to put one foot in front of the other and step away. I'm sure some people in the comments would probably say, well, if you're doing a line test to make sure you're drunk or not, putting one foot in the front of the other could be difficult. Not from my mouth, but some people could suggest. And here we go, Justin. Timestamp in my video definitely sounds like a fake account. She probably did it to herself. The thing is, when it comes to Justin, I think Justin may comment as he watches along, hence why the timestamps. So what he says early in the video may differ to what he says later into the video. Commenting as you watch along, fine, that's okay. Definitely sounds like a fake account. She probably did it to herself. That's the first idea what came to Justin's mind, that what Brooke Carter has come up against in 2024, for example, those extreme threats and intimidation tactics, that it's all been faked. Right. So we're back to this again, being skeptical about this has been faked, that's been faked, what else has been faked? But Justin does say, it's definitely not okay what's happened to Brooke if it turns out to be a real person going after Brooke Carter. There's a level of reasoning ability there by Justin, which is something, there's a bit of improvement. And this is absolutely nothing I would do. So don't try to blame me for this garbage. Did I ever blame you, Justin, for that? I don't think so. You can watch it back. I gave a response as in how you could react to it, as in when covering it and being skeptical whether it's true or not. But besides that, I wasn't pinning the blame or aiming it in your way. Justin says, again, this is nothing I would do. I find it appalling and unnecessary. What is appalling and unnecessary, Justin? As in what Brooke Carter has come against and what's been said to her? Or you find it appalling and unnecessary that a video has been made which mentions nothing about you being blamed, but you think that you are being blamed? What is it, Justin? We're lacking context again. But let's see what others have said. I'm on the dark side. Says, not hard to look him up. Right, who's him? I guess maybe the one that's threatening BBC. I did. Had words with him too. Definitely real. Alicia is the one that makes up shit. Proven. Right, so if the one that has threatened BBC is real, what's the actual reasoning behind it, the motive? What good does it actually do? That's the main question, isn't it? Siobhan, definitely a real account. Look him up. What is the difference between a fake account and a real account? A fake account can be when you've got someone pretending to be somebody else. And it's someone familiar or known of, could call it an impersonation account. An outright fake account can be when you use a random generated name or the first thing that comes to your head with no distinct profile picture of anyone in specific, etc. It's just made up on the spot using like a fake identity, basically. A real person would be their real name or real profile picture. But, you know, there's many people online on different social media places where they'll have a cartoon profile picture, a random creative username. Does that make them fake? Not really. So there's different tiers to it. But, you know, even if the account is real, what about the motive then? Carl, who we're talking about? Who's it we're talking about? Oh, no. Bergau says, so you state she or others have not received any kind of garbage threats. Well, I'm sure they all have. Kate and Pressy included have all received threats. You throw she out like, oh, hey, they haven't received anything. But when they show proof, then it's denial. Shut the F up. None of it's okay. Nor any of them. It's horrible. My question is, if different people from different sides, from Cade and Pressy, which may be in contrast to Brooke Carter, but both have been threatened, who by exactly? Is there a consistent pattern to it, or is it just completely random? Is it the dark side threatening the light side and the light side threatening the dark side? Is it within, or is it just random? Any patterns we need to know. We got John Doe, shout out to John. To have the mindset of Jack Newton, Brooke Carter, or any of these people haven't been threatened, potentially stalked, etc., shows some real ignorance on your part. There are thousands and thousands of people from all over the world who are interested in Noah's death. A person would have to be really out of touch with reality if they think that some of the public will have lightly made threats or types towards BBC, Jack Newton, AC, etc. Even Caden has likely had some messages, posts or responses that have made him question his safety. And I think what we also need to acknowledge, what John is getting at here, Justin Roy, I have been threatened. I have been threatened several times by particular people, such as a certain someone, right? I've also been threatened by the odd dodgy random default account on Facebook as well in the past. I don't even live in the US. I'm not even a party goer. I'm just a person. That's it. And if someone like me can get threatened, then the chances of a party goer out there being threatened is very likely. Justin, got to use common sense. What else? You, Jan Fiorillo, Caden Pressy, etc. have literally blamed Jack Newton for murder. You have also blamed Brooke Carter and Avery Combs. Only a fool would think that when you blame Jack of murder in front of the thousands in your group, you are bound to have at least one of them lash out. That's true. If you're the leader, if you're seen as a leader of a page, a group, a forum, and you issue a certain statement or a point, an announcement, a piece of news, an opinion, even if you try and word it appropriately, if you have followers, if you have people that look up to you, what you say and what you do, people may follow through with those orders. So you got to be careful, whether you're in a cult or not. Some people can take it literal and take direct action. That's when you get those, lone wolf type vigilantism acts. John says, you are way too involved in the death of Noah. The family wants you, Justin, to step back. Your kid wants you to step back. You are fighting with your own allies, etc. Law enforcement have literally told you to back off. And as we've seen with time, there is hard evidence and proof that the police want Justin to step back. There is hard evidence and proof that some of Noah's family members want Justin to take a step back. When important people within the case want an outsider general public to take a step back, says a lot, doesn't it? John, for some reason you think that you are important and are needed in the search for answers to what happened to Noah. I think when you're overly passionate as Justin is, it can blind your judgment and your decision making. It's unfortunate, but I've seen it in previous cases. It doesn't end well. George, he should go argue with Victor Presgrove, who was a better father figure. I mean, Victor would go for the jugular. That's what George says. John responds, Justin only wants to go after people that he thinks that he can walk all over or bully. One day at a time. To Justin, I don't think anyone in their right mind would do that to themselves. Very well said, very well put. He just doesn't listen. He's not important to the case. Right. Amy, there are always two sides to the story, and the way you portray it is just one side. So what are you doing? These messages are last year. I thought this was about who killed Noah. You're going on and on about something you don't even know. You should get back to the storyline. You act like you are her bodyguard or something. I think you have an obsession with her. Right. Wait, who is Amy referring to here? Always two sides to the story. And the way you portray it is just one-sided. So what are you doing with these messages are all last year? I thought, right. So I'm going to interpret this that Amy is calling me out. And I would say, Amy, you're in absolutely no position to be doing that whatsoever. Never come across you before. You look a bit possessed, looking down in the camera, side-eyeing me. Not necessary, to be honest. Joined 4 months ago, kind of a fresh account. Okay. Did you ever find out the other Tyler's last name? Okay. To Carl. Yeah, okay, whatever you say. Are you his #1 fan? Whatever that is. There's always 2. Okay. Not too much activity by Amy, but we're going to break it down. Amy, I want you to look, listen, and learn right now. You say that there are always 2 sides to the story, and you're implying that I'm portraying it one-sided. Amy, how long have you been here for? I started covering this case about July 2024, the 1st day of July. And ever since, I've made over 300 videos. All the way up till the 1st of the new year, 2025, I've been covering videos from the Army page, Team Caden Pressy, the light side, supposedly the so-called right side, the Justin Roy side, the Jan Fiorillo side. I've done coverage up until January of 2025 from July of 2024. That's how many months I have spent covering it from the light side. From January 2025 onwards up to present time, I've been covering it from the dark side and in between. Amy, if you look back and you do your research, you will see that there is extensive coverage from all sides, both sides, multiple sides. It's not just 2 sides to a story. There's more than 2 sides. So Amy, you have a lot of learning and research to do. You have not done your research. You say that I'm only covering it one-sided. I've only come across you in recent time. Are you new to this case? Because if you are, you need to look back at my older videos. If you have been around long enough, though, in the early days, well then shame on you for failing to acknowledge, for failing to see all the coverage I've done beforehand. But if that was the case, Amy, it's the typical mindset that some have from the light side, that some have from the Army page, that you can spend 10 years covering it from their point of view and perspective, saying all the right stuff, being a little bit politically correct to please them, etc. That you spend 1 day, 2 days covering it from a different perspective. Oh, that 10 years coverage written off, those 2 days worth of covering it from the dark side, you're unbalanced, you're biased. How dare you? You're a naughty individual. Amy, do you have that mindset? I hope not. But if you do, it may become a lost cause. But besides that, you say, I thought this was about who killed Noah. Well, if And depending what we're referring to about threats and people in danger, I think that's pretty serious, because the possibility of Noah Presgrove being murdered in danger around dangerous people. And then we've got extended themes of certain party goers or those connected somehow to party goers who are under threat, under attack by strangers who may or may not be from the party, who may or may not be tied to Noah's possible death. The theme of death, the theme of danger, the theme of threats can all tie in line possibly with how Noah died. And you're wording it as who killed Noah Presgrove. Do we have literal hard evidence and proof that Noah was actually murdered and killed? Because that's how it comes across here, Amy. You need to be very careful with your language and understanding. Just by looking at one comment by Amy for the first time or a couple of times, I'm really disappointed within you. I hope you understand that. Anyway, you say, you going on and on about something you don't even know. What I don't even know. Can you elaborate about that, though? Can you elaborate on that? Because there'll be things that you don't know about. Clearly, you don't know how my channel works. You don't know about the formal process to it and the research along the way. Clearly, you've not even done your own research. So what does that say about you? You're in absolutely no position to be talking. Okay? You should get back to the storyline. That's exactly what's been done since and from day one, pretty much. There's a lot of things that need to be covered and links can be made. Other humans, when they try and make links, they fail and it can fall flat on its face. And people can say, how does this link? How is this relevant? I can make it relevant because I can find those deeper links and meanings. But other humans are incompetent and can't see it. So not much you can do about that. Amy says you act like you are her bodyguard. Right, so Amy is saying that I am appearing to be like Brooke Carter's bodyguard. Does Brooke Carter need a bodyguard? Probably not, right? Am I a bodyguard in general? I could be. I could be for someone. But it's not in this situation. To say, I think you have an obsession with her. Where's the proof and evidence of that? Because I make one video covering what she has gone through and understanding it from the wording and the poor language by the one doing all the threats and warnings. But that's considered being obsessed with someone. What's next going to come out? Oh, because you've made several videos on a case trying to keep it alive and trying to help spread awareness, that makes you obsessed. That makes you bad. Amy, do you even know what you're talking about? You're just throwing around buzzwords to sound all trendy and quirky. It's just not a good look. It's rather embarrassing. Does it get any better though? Nope, because Amy has commented again. There are always two sides to the story, and the way you portray it is just one-sided. That's incorrect. So what are you doing these messages are last year? Okay, so you've repeated it again, which, why though? Let's see the responses. 7 people have agreed with her. This is what the important thing is. Majority of humans that like comments like this tend not to comment themselves and hide in the background and lurk during the live premieres. Cowardly behaviour, if I be honest with you. Carl says, not obsessed with her, just reporting on the dark side of things. People who are trying to get justice for Noah. WarLike Wrath is just reporting and contrasting and giving clear rational analysis. There we go. Carl has it on point with sunglasses on or not. He can see clearly. Amy says, that's cool. Clear rational analysis. That's a joke. The only joke that's around here is you, Amy, in terms of your poor reasoning ability. You need to get a grip of yourself. Eric says, this is why I had to stop following this channel, unfortunately. Oh, is that so? You had to stop following my channel? Oh, no. Oh, no, what am I going to do? I'm sure another human will replace you. Just another statistic. But one thing to acknowledge, one day ago, you've stopped following my channel. But clearly, you're following my channel to be able to comment upon it. There is a reason subconsciously in your mind eating away or ticking away for you to click on my video, to comment on my video and say why you are not following my channel, whilst following my channel and going through my channel to actually comment on my video. A vicious cycle, contradicted yourself, can't stick to your words. And one day summarize it. Why are you commenting then? If you have to go, you go. If you have to leave, you leave. You make it clear and you follow through with it. And if you don't, well, that's unfortunate, isn't it, Eric? You keep smiling in that profile picture, and hopefully you can relay that smile back into your neural system, pathways, to get into that brain and say, I need to follow through with this and that, instead of being trapped in a vicious cycle. Justin to Amy. What Justin likes to do is like where maybe a group of females who've never seen one another before all gel together over a handbag and think, oh my God, they're so sparkly. Despite how personalities may clash, let's just focus on this and jump on in without even reasoning ability or thinking. Take in mind, my example there is only light-hearted, just in case people get the wrong idea of it. But Justin siding with someone that has a problem with me, who's acting out in an impetuous, egocentric manner, and Justin goes along with what Amy says or what another creator says out there without reasoning. Birds of a feather flock together. Justin Roy's personality, his true colours are shining brighter than ever, but not quite bright enough in reasoning or mindset. Yeah. Justin says to Amy, exactly. Same with George Choden. She told George this story and he came running to save her. Lol. Or am I being deemed as the one running to save someone? I don't think so. As you would know if you've done your research, regardless of who it is, there'll be a form of coverage. Just like you, Justin, when you come running like a good little boy on your knees. Ruff, 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 ruff. Cover this, cover this. Oh, but by the way, don't cover it. It needs to be private. Yeah, unusual. But in recent time, though, of course, things seem to change. Oh, cover this now. Okay. And we'll see what Justin has to say about that, whether he's pleased or not. But besides that, Justin says she's going to make them both look silly in the end. Justin basically saying George and WarLike Wrath are going to be made to look silly by the hands of Brooke. So just because I do coverage and I use appropriate language and wording, I was very clear and careful with my wording in the video that I did at the time, saying, well, how this comes across can come across as threatening. It might not be direct, but it's a suggestive threat, etc. It's all above board, Justin. A person cannot be made to look silly if how they present themselves in the first place is done with a level of clarity and understanding, cautiousness, laying it out there, the foundations of it all. You know, when you're cautious, you're not going to rush on in, but Justin, you do rush on in, bull in a china shop. Hence why you're worse off than other people at times because of how you act. Amy says, this is true. I don't know about this WarLike Wrath. I wish he could be more serious about the case to help find out what happened. Amy, if you really are Amy, if you really are a female based off your name and profile picture, besides that hair, besides your eyes, brush that further away behind your ears and look very closely and listen clear, okay? You say you don't know who I am. You don't know really much about my channel. So why are you commenting then and being an impetuous plank? If you haven't done your research and you don't know about the past coverage on this case by me, in which I covered it from likely your point of view and others, if you don't know about that stuff, but you jump in the gun now based off what I'm covering in the moment, it's just not exactly practical, is it, Amy? I think you know, Amy, deep inside, within your subconscious mind, that you have messed up there in your reasoning ability. But don't worry, there is always time to change. To say about, I wish he could be more serious. See, the thing is, if I'm too serious, people are going to complain about that and say, oh my God, he's too scary. Oh my God. And then start crying about it. See, the reality is, Amy, if I wasn't serious, then explain to me why I've made over 300 videos going over the case almost day in, day out, pretty consistent, frequent. Most people who aren't serious or a little bit casual wouldn't be doing it to the same intensity that I am. Other people would have given up. Other people would have walked away. Other people may have made a video once every few weeks with no clear pattern or timeline to it or order. So I think you've got to be serious enough to be able to dedicate many months to covering it almost day in, day out and think of new things along the way. That's what equals a level of seriousness. If we're talking about a level of lightheartedness or lighthearted humour, well, to be honest, it's needed at times to break through the darkness as a refresher, but clearly, maybe, Amy, you don't have a funny bone. Maybe you're too serious, who knows? Carl says, it's true. That's why he's still trucking and has a lot of followers. Amy, yeah, okay, whatever you say. Are you his #1 fan? So Amy has very infantile-like degenerative behaviour. There's always that small possibility that this Amy, in the words of Justin, could be a fake account. Who knows? We've got more reasonable comments now from Heaven with a heavenly message. Ref, thank you for your continued coverage. Greatly appreciated. Big shout out from Heaven. Key points made. Junie, they're going mad. As in who? Michaela says, I don't know, but I'd say that's a troll child. Who knows? George Choden, in response to me, I'm not sure if you're aware of the death threats Vanessa sent to Stevie Howard and bragged about it to Justin Roy and Michael Felon Facecast and Michael Felon's wife, Amanda Nelson. It seems Justin and Michael egged Vanessa on and actually protected her as she moved on to other victims. Normally, if admins of Facebook groups or anyone for that matter are aware of a criminal act being committed, it's their responsibility to report it to appropriate LE authorities and not become accessories. So what you say, George, I am not aware of. Is there any hard evidence of these threats by Vanessa? And are they direct to the likes of Stevie Howard? Are there screenshots of Vanessa's actual name, account and profile sending the threats to Stevie? Or is it a supposed fake account being done in that way? We've got someone called Nobs. Jack is the one you should look at. Well, we have done coverage on and off about that. John, why now? Jack has been looked at. Jack isn't guilty. Shout out to Glenn. Sonny, to be honest, I keep myself in the middle. I'm not going to be a part of all that bullcrap, and this case ain't getting anywhere. I'm going to do pray and go on with my day like I have been. Right, okay. Stephen, they can't say anything like that. They would get cut off indefinitely. They have guidelines. You can't talk that shit. Needs to lay off the drugs. Transitioning on to the video from last night, let's see what else has been said since, because it does follow the patterns and trends or similar themes of what we're talking about. But we'll just work from the bottom. Carl says, hey, WarLike Wrath, yesterday's video at the private investigator keynote was out in left field and he's threatening BBC, as what we saw with the previous comments. She should call LE on him. He's so wacko and weird and 100% a-hole calling BBC the C-word and rat and how bad person. Was action followed up? Who knows? Victor says they agree. Carl, hey, WarLike Wrath, this comment is about Alicia commenting that Caden cried all the way home and that he kept saying he knew it was Colton and Travis. Knew what, though? Probably that were responsible, maybe? Maybe Kathy Bingham's information about Travis and Colton made Caden just not comment on this stuff publicly so that Ellie could investigate and make the charges or claims as to who was responsible for Noah's death. In other words, you haven't heard this info before because Caden didn't want to target anyone falsely in public. Controlling oneself there I could understand, but what about the other inconsistencies along the way? Is that planned or not? And in terms of when Caden may have knew about Colton or had a feeling Colton and Travis were involved or responsible or knew something, that was on the way home on the day of Noah's death. Really early on, the beginning. That from then till later. such as 2024 with that police interview, a private interview with police. What Caden Pressy, he wasn't anticipating for the interview to be leaked, released public. So I'm surprised Caden didn't make any reference or any acknowledgement whatsoever to Travis or Colton to that extent, as in being responsible or knowing something. Lisa, wow, finally we're naming the specific people. Yes, that's what I heard. It was Colton and Travis. You asked Caden knew what, though? He knew it was Colton and Travis that beat the shit out of the poor little Noah. I honestly believe they did not mean to take it as far as they did, though. I think the adrenaline just kicked in and they couldn't stop themselves. But that is not what actually killed him. Nope, it was someone else and something else. AJ Williams to Lisa, you don't know how to accurately interpret an autopsy as his injuries do not support a beating, but keep rambling all of your inaccurate nonsense. Everyone on here knows you're a full-blown loon and that nothing you ever state is accurate. Okay. We've got +1, justice for now, fair enough. Wrath, shout out to From Heaven, good person. Victor, yeah, putting party online kind of crazy, but since out of town you probably don't get a lot of kids driving. Maybe. Lisa, this is kind of off topic, but was Noah left-handed by any chance? I don't know, but I am. Why do you ask? Is it because it could tie in possibly with the case somehow, by any means, if he was holding something? AJ, wow, Caden and Alicia can't keep their story straight. No wonder authorities reacted towards him like they did in his interview, and why they don't seem to think he is very credible. It's because he and Alicia are not credible. So by being not credible, does that just mean not of much use? Could it tie in, slip in possibly with being suspicious? I mean, if you don't know about something and you genuinely don't know, but you are innocent and there could be proof to prove that, then why complicate it for yourself, which some people may have done in the case? Victor, yeah, Caden said he just left when told to leave. Caden said at 7 in the morning. Caden said it was Renee Milan that ordered him to leave. But Renee Milan has said in her own post that she never told people to leave, didn't tell Caden to. Victor, I like WarLike Wrath. Oh no. Okay, so Victor's catched on as well. Just like Andrea and maybe some other people. That's all good. Steffi, oh, I've missed a few videos. I just got off of a ventilator over pneumonia. They say I wasn't going to make it, but I'm still here. I was on it over 3 weeks. Well, welcome back to the channel. Julie, so glad you're still with us. There we go. Shout out to Steffi. Sherry, I personally think they track her movements because Alicia, Caden's mum, plainly said Georgia is a wild one. Okay. In what way, though? Seeing her in a room full of older males would set me off too. I understand. But then my kids were raised properly. My kids and I now are all on Life 360. We are a team, and with society gone wild nowadays, it's a safety issue concern. I'm curious how, with Caden being in a leg brace and only having one shoe, how did he run to his Jeep? I guess he hopped along, possibly. I don't know if it was he put one shoe on, couldn't find the other, so he carried on getting to the highway with one shoe on, or he just took it off and thought, I'll just go in socks, maybe. Oh, here we go, Justin Roy again. This was Justin's reaction to my coverage towards the end of my video, the timestamp given. So, WarLike Wrath, how is that not a threat? It's absolutely ridiculous to say. I have never threatened anyone or even created a fake account. Not one time. Well, Justin, at what point did I say you created a fake account? Why is that being brought up now? And in terms of never threatening anyone, what's made you say that? Did I doubt you in regards to how you've acted towards people? Weird, Justin. It's like your subconscious mind is talking what you may or may not have done already, even though I have not said anything to yield this response from you. You're saying too much, Justin. openly. And that's unusual. But the bit about me saying that it's not a threat, you've interpreted it that way. And you say it's ridiculous. You know what is ridiculous, Justin, is when you interpret it that I officially and wholeheartedly said that what was said, what Brooke talked about, it's just not a threat. Not a threat whatsoever. Did I word it that way? No, Justin. You used your selective hearing to hear it that way, so then you could complain and whine once again in the comment section with freedom of speech. Reality is, Justin, if you actually listened to my video at the time, I was saying how one can interpret it would be considered a threat. For someone like Justin Roy to be on the, supposedly the receiving end of it, even if it wasn't meant direct and it was passed on from one person to another, but it was still about Justin, the one on the receiving end, which is Justin, hearing about it all, can feel threatened by it. I understand. I acknowledge that. But if you're an outsider and it doesn't concern you, but you can see the comments, the emojis, joking around and messing, and it's in private with another individual, you could argue and say, well, maybe they're just joking about a private conversation which was never meant to be directed public or aimed towards Justin face to face. So Justin could be completely ignorant to it if it was never shown or passed on. And you just go about your day like nothing happened and you'd be all fine and okay. But of course, when you do hear about it, see it somehow, you're going to be more cautious. You're going to interpret it as a threat. I understand. It's the language and wording in the emojis which got to be taken into account too with time. I did clearly highlight that with certain wording and language, it can make someone look bad. It can make someone look threatening. And if it's been interpreted that way in the past as well, it's not a good look. So Justin, I covered it from both perspectives and your perspective, and yet you chose to ignore it and complain. That's typical by you. Besides that, Justin says, it's absolutely crazy for her to be talking about me this way. This absolutely is unwarranted threat, and it's crazy for her to be talking about me like this in any message. Maybe I should be very aware of how crazy she really is. Or maybe, Justin, just be very aware of how unpredictable humans can be in general in life. Justin says, I have never said anything like this about anyone. I find it all the threatening messages appalling and ridiculous. Why are you having to justify yourself by saying you've not done this and you've not done that and that you're innocent? Have I questioned your ability about that? I don't think so, unless you're responding to other people, but you don't really make it clear that. Maybe I should be more aware of my surroundings. Well, yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? How are certain threats more serious than others? Oh, no. Oh, no. Did you really say that? How are certain threats more serious than others? Well, I'll give you an example. If a person said they're willing and they threaten to cut your hair off in your sleep so you wake up bald the next day, that's a threat on you and your personal looks being at harm. There's a difference between that and then someone saying, I'm going to fly a plane into a tower and kill 10,000 people. I am going to apply unusual wires and attach them inside of a building and no one's going to be aware of. And that message, which was in a conversation with someone's leaked. It's a clear terroristic threat. I think there is a difference, Justin, between the threat of cutting someone's hair off to a threat of bombing a place. Come on, Justin. Common sense, surely? Anyway, he says, you see this threat is real. Both of them are on your channel. Never heard of Todd before. Okay, well, I've not heard of Todd before. Response-wise, George, it seems she's talking about her land quite a distance from Waurika. So if you were to trek down to her land, she'd pretty well exercise her Second Amendment right. Stop making this about yourself. She's talking about if you were to follow through on your threats, you'd know how it would end. And obviously, you needed that advice, and rightfully so. Junie, It's gotten crazy. I say stay offline as much as possible, only state important points. It's madness at this point. Justin to George. I've never given her a reason to talk about me like this, though in a conversation, not one time. I wonder how many more messages are like this with people you never know, right? I wonder how many more messages are out there, such as you, Justin, where you're, what, praising or kind of like acknowledging others to follow through with reporting my videos, like the Alicia Lee call to arms, but a separate time with other people? When others were willing to report my videos and you, Justin, were like, yeah, that's a good idea. We see no screenshots. So you've been talking in the background as well. So not in a position to be talking, right? And this is absolutely about me, little boy George, as she said my name for no reason. And what is it with these people always wanting to make people disappear on their land? Nobody finds this odd to even say? Weird? Well, what other people have said about their land and making people disappear? Are you referring to Stevie Howard, Justin? Because Stevie Howard said, well, if we were responsible for Noah's death, we would have done a better job at concealing so no one would find him. Any direct reference as to where they would do it or if it was beyond their land or not? I don't remember seeing that part of them. Justin, yes, I agree. I was absolutely shocked when it was sent to me. Wonder how many of the conversations she's had about me and making me disappear on her land. I guess the main question is, Justin, has it actually been followed through? Has it happened yet? George, so I guess you decided you're not going to be paying Brooke a visit. Kelly Shires, file a report with the police. That is terroristic threat. Show them the messages. Get a restraining order to keep everything documented. See, I guess if at the end of the day, if it's that bad, just like how Alicia Lee has mentioned about Caden Pressey, the Apple AirTag, the stalking and tracking, but not following through with it by police, even though it's a serious moment. Is it because they know more or what? If Justin Roy is in a sticky situation or being threatened and feels it's ridiculous and it's not right, then maybe follow through with it with police, maybe, if it's that needed. If there are means to try and fix or adjust it. George, so the screenshot discussed starting at that timeline in my video, she's wanting to make it crystal clear that she doesn't know a thing about Noah's death, even though she seems to be admitting to being at ground zero at potentially the exact same time Noah would have been at that spot on the highway. I guess she didn't mention this to Justin Roy when they banged heads together to clean up her timelines and versions. What, the 3:15 timeline of being at the highway or so? Maybe. I can't click on that timestamp by George because it'll click onto my video and stuff and it'll just take over with the audio. But if it's anything to do with 3:15 around that time, well, it's been said that Noah walked off at 3:30, so still early. And we got Glenn. Is that it? The comments? It appears to be. With that all being said, you can see where certain mindsets are at this moment in time. As for the mention of the feeling of no progress or it's not really going anywhere, I think the act of retrieving stuff from the past and what was said back then and how it may differ now, that's important itself, and that is a form of progress. Even if the material that's been retrieved or found or archived, reshared is old, if it's new for the first time in seeing and viewing, then it's a form of progress in learning a bit more. And the backstories, you can make progress in a case when it comes to learning and researching about behind the scenes and the backstory of it, how it went to where it is now. Where it is now may feel like a dead end, but filling in gaps along the way is a form of progress, because this particular timeline of the case itself, when it started and where we're at now, there are still gaps and grey areas along the way, meaning this is not continuous from one end to the other as a form of progress. There are empty spots in between which need a form of progress to be made to catch up to where we are now, with the contrast, the comparisons and more. I'll try and get some of my separate videos into, and any particular comments made by Alicia which could stand out more compared to what Caden has said, they could be applied as for a map analysis if I do separate standalone small videos or slightly smaller ones. We'll just see how that goes and then see what happens then, if any more theories anymore. Extra ideas are needed. I think a reference to Travis Monson, a reference to Colton could be looked into in some way. Get some bits and bobs. I'll take that into mind. If anything else needs ticking off the list in between, I'll do that and then go from there. Hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting. If you want to hit the thumbs up, share the video, much appreciated, and full playlist top right corner. My name is WarLike Wrath. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.